Question everything, trust nothing, except your boy CryptoKeeper. Hopefully everybody is doing well. It's Thursday. Glad to be here. Excited to chat about my baby, my girl, ETH. I am excited about what's happening. If you haven't been paying attention in the space, we're going to get into that today. But before we do, and before we bring the guest up from backstage, I want to shout out the chat right quick. Got a little bit of action going on in there. First off, in the chat today is a troll in the chat, but I'm going to shout him out just because why not? How to become a meme coin millionaire. Let's look at these steps here. Hold on a second. Let's see here. Grow funny hair. Okay, check. I've got that. All right, hold on. Let me see here. Hold on. Let me see. Number 2, make a YouTube channel. Got it. Okay. Hold on. Now, number 3. What's 3? Talk about a meme coin you bought on the YouTube channel. 3. Hold on. Do we have a 4? No. All right. Not yet. All right, Mohammed. Shout out to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for stroking the algo with your texts. Or text. Listen to me, boomer. With your comments, I appreciate you. Caffeinated Crypto in the house, got his coffee ready. Glad to see you, French Toaster. Who else we got up in here? We got Patriot Caveman hiding here somewhere. There he is. Yo, brother. What up, what up, what up? So glad you guys are here. We're going to have some fun today, as always. Talk about what's going on with ETH. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, obviously, the overall markets. We're going to talk about some meme coins. That'll make Mohammed happy. Ryan Birchfield in the house was good. Glad to see you. Oh, number 4, dump it on your followers. Yeah, Mohammed, the ones I've been talking about have not been dumping on followers. They've been doing a little thing called making money. But, hey, to each their own. Glad that you're here anyway. All right, cool. Let's get into it. Let me pull up the guest, the man, the myth, the legend, Bill Noble. What's up, brother?
Hi, Keep. Thanks for having me.
Glad that you're here, bro. Excited to dump on all of our followers. We can do it together. You know what I mean?
Don't even.
Dude, I love trolls, bro. I love it.
Dude,
I actually
honestly, man, with me and you, it's anything but
I know, right. I actually used to just give them like no attention whatsoever. And then I was like, you know what? Sometimes it's just kind of fun. Everybody in here is going to have a good laugh. No worries there. But yeah, so it's just actually, like Anthony said, probably missed out on something. Yep, he did. Speaking of missing out, let me just tell you guys real quick before we start. I was telling Bill before the show, you can't buy all these damn meme coins. You just can't, right? And I want to shout out, you know what? I'm not going to shout them out by name because I don't know where they want to be. But somebody in my DGen group on Telegram shouted out this freaking Zach Morris coin on Sol. And I was like, man, like, I'll take a look at it. I glanced at it. It was at a few 100K, 400K, something like that. Got doing one thing or the other. Didn't have Sol sitting there ready because I had it invested in some other stuff. Didn't make a move on it because there's just too many of them. That freaking thing was at a few 100K. It's at $87 million, Bill. Just missed a, couple 100X. No big deal. Just a little, little piece of the action. Oh, that's always fun. Bill, you said you had a little bit of a banger too, right? You bought one of the poly meme coins and missed the other one did the thing that you wanted it to do.
Right. It was serious and silly, right? For RFK. And, I bought RFKJ and Kennedy, which admittedly is hysterical.
Right.
That thing like 3x'd.
Yeah.
But I'm still holding on for the serious one because the market cap's only 20 million. So.
Yeah. Listen, it's going to happen. The poly, I think they call it poly meme this year is going to be good. I think they're going to do really well. The one on Toncoin that I always talk about, Ton, glad that's
right.
Doing its thing. It still needs Ton. We're going to talk about Ton today actually too. We've got an article on Ton that I want to get into with you guys. It's not just me talking about it in the space. There's a lot of people talking about Ton and what it can do for us. So excited about that. Let's start off with taking a look at the charts. Let me pull up the market cap first and go from there. Hey, smash the like if you haven't already. Make sure to follow Bill Noble too. And don't follow Bill Noble's scam channel on X. It's Noble_crypto.
No,
right?
it's crypto
Noble. Yeah, all these crafty fools that trying to, I get messages all the time, especially on TikTok. And people that personally know me, they're like, hey, have you been messaging me on? Now I'm like, no. And TikTok won't do anything about it. It is freaking annoying because they just take advantage of people. You know what I mean? That's literally the opposite of what we're here to do. So it just pisses me off. That type of stuff really does piss me off. All right. So the global crypto market cap's at 2.668 trillion with a T dollars. It's down 2.7%. So let's look at why. Well, Bitcoin is why. Because it is down about 3.4%, and that makes up a majority of the market. It's a 67,777 right now. ETH is up a hair at 37.99, about to break that 3,800 barrier. I saw that up over. Did it hit 4K, Bill? I saw it go over 3,900. Did it hit 4? Did you see?
I didn't see the 4 print.
Let's take a peek. Did it hit 4? I don't think that it did.
No, I saw 39.37.
Yeah, 39. So yeah, creeping back up on 4K. I'll be happy to see when that does. Solana's been doing its thing. It's at $173. What else we got going on? XRP doing what XRP's been doing. Nothing. That's annoying as hell. Toncoin down. Toncoin taking a little bit of a hit at $6.27. We're going to talk about some one-offs today, some things that Bill's had his eye on. I'm excited to talk about because 2 of the tokens he's talking about today, I actually don't have any information on, so I'm happy to hear about that. My baby Caspa is up 14.7% over the last week. So I'm glad to see that. And then let me check in on, man, I keep scrolling down. VeChain's been struggling recently. 3.5 cents. It's pretty flat, down about 3.4% over the last day. So that's the market caps. Let's look at the bubbles real quick. Oh boy, it's red. Bill, have you ever noticed? And I always wondered, and maybe you can answer this because I've heard a good answer for this before, but I can't come up with it right off the top of my head. When Bitcoin drops 3%, as an example, today, whatever. Render's down 10, AGIX is down 10, GRT is down 7.3, Arweave's down 9.4. They're all exponentially down. And so I've heard people say, well, like, it doesn't make sense that all of a sudden, people see Bitcoin down, so they start bailing out of other projects. Do you have a good reason why, like, that almost always on the same day, there is liquidity being pulled from all of these projects when Bitcoin has a slight movement? They've got that much larger move back.
Okay, well, yes. I mean, crypto hedge funds will probably start taking tax losses. I mean, when Bitcoin's down, because the case for Bitcoin going up is so compelling,
yeah,
that when it actually is down, it becomes kind of an excuse to sort of like bail out on altcoins. I do think in altcoins, you've got something in fancy finance terms called dispersion, where some of them like Ondo are they're at their highs, and other ones just dumped 80%. I don't think we've ever seen that.
Yeah.
But I do think everybody does take their cue from either Bitcoin, Solana, or Ethereum.
But they'll literally tax harvest throughout the year, even in small batches, effectively. Like from day to day, they'll pull. Hey, I'll take a hit here. I'll take a hit here. I'll take a hit here. Whatever.
Well, maybe not. Maybe it's not day to day, like it probably is now. Like, let's take some losses and buy ETH. That's happening before our eyes.
Yeah.
In general, it could also be algos, right? Like Bitcoin's down, dump other stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right.
Because that's the flight to safety in the crypto space anyway. Is Bitcoin, obviously. Patriot Caveman said, I heard somewhere that that got leaked that the ETH ETF is denied, but I'm not sure. I have not heard that yet. We're going to talk about it here in just a little bit. I hope that it doesn't get denied, but we're going to stick around because we're going to talk about the implications of what that looks like. Good, bad, or indifferent, denied, passed, with the goods, bads, everything in between. We're going to talk about all of that. Let me pull up a chart here right quick. Actually, I'm going to pull up 2, and then I'm going to have Bill, the better trader here, show us what he's looking at. So Bitcoin, I've got it pulled out on the daily right now. All right. So ultimately the value area high on the daily, we are effectively, we're basically right there right now, right around 68, 69K in that small range there. The point of control is at about 67, 116. This is a time pull that I just did. This is over the last, what did I do this over? The last 3 months, March, April, and May. Yeah, all of March, all of April, and then, through May. I was basically looking for a range to pull off of there. That's shout out to TradeFly. I had been pulling just time-based trends. And he was like, you know what? One of the things that I like to do is look for actual ranges. And it makes a lot of sense. It pulls up. Okay, cool. We've got a little range happening, a couple little trend lines pulling us up and to the right. We passed on through, what was that, a couple days ago, and we hit that 71.8. And I wasn't surprised, Bill, I don't know if you were, but I wasn't surprised to see us not tap all-time highs again. I feel like there was a little bit of liquidity grabbing going on. If you looked at some of the heat maps and other things that we look at in the space, it looked like there was a really good chance we weren't going back to all-time highs. do you perceive, and I'm going to get into ETH here in a second, but do you perceive us getting back to all-time highs anytime soon, or are you kind of thinking that we're going to get a pullback, get a correction?
Okay, I think Bitcoin is kind of in do-nothing mode. You know, I think people, hedge funds, because they're the primary owners of the Bitcoin ETF, despite what we would want, they're probably, the hot money is going to probably move from Bitcoin to ETH. So Bitcoin is probably going to sit just below 70.
Yeah. Money's going to rotate.
Right. And then, you know, CPI is in the middle of June after consensus. So I'm guessing that's the dip to get in Bitcoin. And then once Bitcoin takes out, the number I think is actually 80.
80.
Yeah. When Bitcoin gets to 80, if it starts printing 80, then everyone's going to start talking about 100. And then you're going to have massive retail FOMO into the market. Dude,
100 is good. If we hit 100, and I'm saying if because I am constantly kind of the bear here. If we hit 100K, I will be very interested to see, do we get the effect that we've seen in the past where we get closer and closer to these big numbers and then it just blasts through and says bye-bye, but then we ultimately know it's going to come back to, you know what I mean, come back and revisit? Or is it just going to be an absolute monster to get through? I think 100K is going to be a monster. I think that's such a big hole. We're going from 5 digits to 6 digits. I think that's going to be a really tough one to pass through. Do you see us surpassing 100? I haven't asked you about your kind of overall thoughts on Bitcoin.
Well, I definitely think you're going to be at 100 before the end of the year.
Okay.
You know, the psychological barrier will probably depend on what's going on with the dollar, right? If the dollar continues to fall or there's a problem with the overall debt level in the economy, institutions, remember the Bitcoin ETF trades for like, I don't know, it doesn't say $100,000 on the Bitcoin ETF. So normies are just going to go, oh yeah, we got to buy Bitcoin.
That's a good point. Okay. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. The visuals for normies are not the same as the visuals for us. Now for us, when Bitcoin gets, if Bitcoin starts taking out 80 or starts to get close to 100, yeah, they're going to rotate into alts. They'll be like, okay, we missed Bitcoin. Let's go to Solana. Let's go to ETH. Let's go to whatever.
That's a good point, because if you think about it, like if you hold, let's just say BlackRock is managing an IRA for you or whatever, and I asked you and said, "Hey, what is this?" and I threw a random stock at you. What'd you buy? What did your fund buy this at last month? You're gonna say, "I don't freaking know what it bought it at." And you're saying that's basically suggesting it's the same type of idea here. Whereas us, we're specifically paying attention to whether we're actively trading day to day or not. We're specifically paying attention to that price action, whereas they are just trying to ultimately accumulate their holdings in their, in their stock portfolio, right?
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin ETF like BlackRock's IBIT now trades at $38.
Right.
So, there's nothing equities people like more. They love buy high, sell higher. Like NVIDIA, their earnings come out and now NVIDIA as a company is worth more than all of crypto today.
I didn't realize that. I knew that Apple was. I didn't realize NVIDIA had made that big of a leap.
Yeah. So, I mean, they love buy high, sell higher. And if they need exposure to it, it'll just cause retail to back off and go somewhere else. Like Solana will be at 400. They'll be like, oh, wow, Bitcoin's at 100. Solana's at 400. Let's grab some of that.
Right. Yeah. Rotate that money. We see that all the time. If you haven't seen the ETH chart, obviously we have this nice, huge God candle. This is on a daily. On that day, what was that? Was that 2 days ago? I think on the 20th, we went from 3,060 and wicked all the way up to basically 3,700. That was a huge move. We're at $3,810 right now and moving back up. I would love to see us breach that 4K barrier, but I think that it is going to be dependent on what happens with this ETH ETF news, which we're going to get into in a few minutes. But I want to ask you something, Bill, that I talked about with Army Piper yesterday. The SEC, I did a short on this earlier today. I did a TikTok on this, but the SEC is effectively kind of sort of being asked, hey, bow out. Like, you need to step aside. The CFTC needs to step in. Let's make these what they should be, which is digital commodities. That's what we all want to see. We want the SEC to step aside. If that were to happen, I believe that information, it would be the government actually conceding and saying, hey, you know what? We're not stopping the train that is cryptocurrency at this point. We're already in. We hold a bunch of Bitcoin. We're holding ETH. We're holding these other assets. Now it's time for us probably just to genuinely move over into the regulatory. Okay, how are we actually going to handle this as opposed to fighting it? I would think that that might be even the bigger news than the ETF itself. Have you heard? I forget what it was called. I pulled it yesterday. There was something that passed through the House that was. Right. Were you familiar with this? Talk to me about that.
Right. So I believe that's about banks being allowed to custody crypto. Okay. So Gensler came out and said, you know, or they passed something that said you can't. And now they're turning around and rectifying that because they got phone calls from BlackRock going, guys, we have an ETF. Big banks have to be able to hold some crypto.
We're going to make money,
you know? So yeah. So it's like, if you guys want to keep your job, why don't you help us out with this? You know, Bowden was talking about vetoing it. That's not happening. You know, Gensler and the SEC are, you know, they report to the executive branch of the government.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that if Gensler tries to not approve this, he would be rogue. I think the reason why it is going to get approved, and there was a hint actually 2 or 3 days before this all went down, that Kathy Wood from ARK actually amended her application to take the staking language out. They were going to try to stake the ETH that they held, which was never going to allow that.
No, hell no.
Right. So they just, when they took that language out, I mean, where did they get that idea from? They were in discussions with the government about how to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole
thing, hey, here's what you need to edit.
Right, right. So, I mean, Gensler, to save face, you know, Gensler will never come out and say, I love this. Or, you know, Gensler will never come out and admit that ETH is not a security. He can say what he wants, right? The bottom line is musicians and individuals and hedge funds, whoever they are, right? They just want it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Metals up, dollar down is great for ETH. Yeah. They're probably expediting it for political reasons, but there also could be an economic one other than just having an ETF.
Yeah. There's always the backroom, you know, conversations that are happening and the reasons why this happens. But the facts are really simple. Why are we all in crypto at its core? Most people are not going to tell you tech. They're going to tell you they want to make money. Well, the government obviously needs to continue to make money. I mean, they waste it left, right, and sideways anyway. But if there's an opportunity for these massive hedge funds that effectively rule all of our markets anyway to make money, excuse me, to engage in these markets, they're going to figure out a way to do it. So be paying attention for that. We'll get into that here in just a minute. I've got a couple articles I want to pull. Real quick, though, make sure you're following Bill if you're not already. Bill, what time are you streaming on a daily basis now, or three times a week now, right? Is that right?
Yeah, we're trying to get at least 3 times a week at Crypto Noble on YouTube. You know, patreon.com/unhinged crypto.
Yeah.
That's got a daily podcast every day along with charts. So that's actually in my bio on my Twitter. Now that you hooked me up with the correct Twitter.
Now that I didn't put the scam Twitter on there. If you're not following me over on X, make sure to fix that. It's at CryptoWarz with a Z, CryptoWarz OG. And then make sure that you follow also Bill Noble. His is Crypto_Noble. Did I get it? I got it right that time. I keep flipping it. Crypto_Noble. Now you got it. NOBLE. There we go. All right. Check this out. I don't know if you saw this or not, but I'm excited about this. I think this is important. I love using Metamask. I don't know if you're a Metamask guy or not, but I use Metamask.
I am.
Yeah, I am too. So Ethereum wallet Metamask is adding support for Bitcoin. Timeline for Metamask adding Bitcoin functionality is uncertain, with some suggesting it could be within the next month, according to CoinDesk. Metamask, known for its Ethereum wallet, serves as a gateway for millions of users into the world of DeFi, or decentralized applications and NFTs. While Metamask currently uses wrapped Bitcoin to bridge Bitcoin to Ethereum, it remains unclear how Metamask will support Bitcoin enhancements. Listen, I think one of the problems in the crypto space is, and I was talking to somebody about this recently, and I've got a tracker on my phone. Like, as an example, I've got a tracker on my phone called Zerion, Zerion, and you can just basically let it watch your wallets, but it can't even work off of every network, but whatever. It does a really good job with a lot of different assets, right? So I can click in one place and kind of have an overview of where things are. I think one of the problems in crypto is I've got money all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Like, I literally have found wallets where I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And there's like a chunk of money in there or whatever, which I know people are like, oh, that's a great problem to have. No, what I'm trying to tell you is it's actually not, because it can be very chaotic. And you're like, if you need to pull and to move things, but you also don't want to have them in one place. So I think it's kind of a catch-22. You don't want everything in one place because of the risk of a hack, I guess, unless you're doing a good job with your cold storage wallet, which is most of what I do. I've got cold storage wallets. I even have multiples of those. But something simple that I operate in on a daily basis is on my Metamask. And I have complained for a long time, why can't I why don't they support Bitcoin? So I was excited to hear this. Is this on your radar, or is this first you've heard of this?
Yeah, the first I heard of it was today, but it's obvious that cross-chain is the future.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, why is it that if I want to buy a meme coin, if I got to go from a Solana version of the same meme coin to ETH, that I've got to do all this gymnastics in order to like,
and it is gymnastics, dude. And if you're not used to it, you got to actually like be in crypto. And that's the problem, right? You've got all these normies and you tell them, oh, well, just jump onto this and bridge over to this. And they're, I mean, you lost them at bridge. Like they're like, huh? I'm doing what? Right. So I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to seeing how quickly that happens. Enrique says, I know that pain. Sometimes I feel like a squirrel with how many stashes I have. Yeah, for sure. That's definitely how it feels, for sure. So yeah, hopefully that comes out soon. Support for Bitcoin, that'll be nice. You know, I use MetaMask for more things that I'm going to be doing on the daily. So I don't think it's a huge deal because I'm not actively getting in and out of Bitcoin. But depending on what happens on chain, if the Bitcoin network gets moved somehow over into the meme coin space and starts doing other stuff, this would be a very interesting, you know, addition to what they're doing on MetaMask. So I'll be interested to see that.
Yeah, DeFi on Bitcoin.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's happening. I mean,
that's that MetaMask ignites DeFi on Bitcoin.
Yes, 100%. I totally agree. And that'll be absolutely huge. I want to do a quick check-in on my sponsor with VALINITY. If you guys are just letting your ETH sit around, just a quick breakdown. I showed this yesterday, I think, as well. This is just one of my wallets with VALINITY, and I don't have time to get into all of the specifics, but effectively to show you this, I've got $4,100 worth of VALINITY sitting here. I've got $620 worth of ETH that I can actually pull right now and use. Let's look in the past because I've reverse staked most of this. How much have I actually pulled and used? 766, 275, 482. So some quick math. That's about $1,500, and I've got $600 sitting there. So I've been able to pull $2,100 and actively use my Ethereum, as I have $4,100 worth of VALINITY actively sitting there, which is backed by Ethereum and only created by minting tokens using Ethereum. This is a really interesting way. I do have the link pinned in the chat. If you guys want to look into it, you can also do a one-on-one phone call with Sergio, who I've been with in person down in Colombia. He's a really great guy. And I don't know. I love this. It allows me, I've got some other wallets as well that I have this going on. And it allows me to basically allow my ETH go to work elsewhere without physically taking a loan on it. So I'll have to get you into this further, Bill, to check that out at some point.
Please.
It's pretty cool. It's definitely a way that I've really liked, you know, putting my ETH to work. All right, so I feel like I'm doing all the talking here. Bill, do me a solid. Can you chart ETH for me? Can you pull ETH for me? And let's talk about ETH before I get into TON and some other stuff. I just want to see what's going on with ETH.
Okay, so let's do it. Okay, share the screen. All right, here it comes. All right, so one of the first things you need to understand about ETH is this was fueled by the ETF, but it was going to happen anyway. The candle chart is the dollar index.
Okay.
The orange chart is ETHE, which is like the old Ethereum ETF. Think of it that way, like the GBTC.
Okay.
The dollar index topped in 2023. 13 days later, ETH rocketed higher. Just kept going. 2024, the dollar index topped. 13 days later was the bottom in ETH right there. Boom.
Damn.
So this thing in ETH there's a macro case for what's going on with Ethereum. All right. Now, if you look at the big picture, there's two other ones that I think are super relevant, like this DeMark work, this quantitative system that I use. So, you know, ETH went up, had 9 good days. Normally you get a pause or a top on the 9th day. I'm guessing this is a pause where people will do this like sell the fact thing. The Bitcoin ETF wasn't sell the fact, so I don't know why the ETH ETF was. I guess if they decline it or kick the can down the road or postpone it, I don't know. Well, what are we going to do about that?
Right.
But
nothing.
I think this dip, the dip off this is the dip, because when you get this signal, normally what you should get is some sort of a pause or a dip, and then as soon as it starts to resume, you go with that. Today, it could actually be the intraday dip. I've seen that. Now, if you look at ETH versus Bitcoin, Elliott wave is simple. There's 5 waves. 1, 3, and 5 go in the direction of the trend. So the trend in ETH versus Bitcoin is up. So ETH outperformed. This is a monthly chart, rather. Okay. ETH outperformed for 2 years and then underperformed for 2 years. That's wave 1 up, wave 2 down, and then wave 3 up. You see this candle over here? It's kind of green. It engulfs all these other ones, but it doesn't look like a God candle. No. Right? No. So this is the amount, the extent to which ETH could outperform Bitcoin on like a monthly basis over time. Oh my God, it's enormous.
That would get wild.
You know what I'm saying? And, you know, looking at other ETH charts, I've got other ETH charts here. But the point is, you know, ETH could go to 4,400.
Do you want me to pull them back up? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing it. I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share this chart here. Okay. So this is your 4-hour chart of ETH. Okay. This is called hidden pivot analysis, where you're literally trying to find hidden support points. We'll do it live TA style. So you connect this point, and the low of the correction. And lo and behold, you have support and resistance points that people can't see. So I'm showing this as 3764. Gee, look at ETH sitting on top of 3764 as we talk. Look at that. I wonder how that happened. Okay. And then, you know, the way this works is if you take this out, if this becomes like bird on a wire getting ready to fly, where it just kind of sits there on the little wire or a support point, dude, it's 4,700. Now, earlier we were talking about, I don't know, the all-time highs and this and that and psychology. You know what, folks? This is about the ETF, and this is about aping in. Everyone is underinvested ETH. No one is going to care about resistance at 4,000. They might at 5,000, but no one's going to think about 4. So 37 holds, you're going to 47. That's the quick and dirty on ETH.
My portfolio is going to love 4,700. I've seen my portfolio. Well, I haven't because I've got more now, but you know what I'm saying. It was beautiful back in the day. Well, for the few days that it, you know, that it actually sat around that number anyway.
Right. The thing you have to be careful of is as ETH goes from 3,700 to 4,700, and I'm holding my breath on some of my positions, is that you got to hope that today is not a trend where, you know, ETH is up and becomes like Thanos, the destroyer of the rest of the crypto market.
Oh yeah.
Because everybody has to sell that to get on ETH.
I don't chase like that. Do you chase stuff around, or do you feel like you have solid enough positions and then you'll get into a random meme coin or a random new project that you've been, I just don't personally like, I won't chase something like that, but I think a lot of people do. Is that what, I mean, that's what you're suggesting, right? There's a lot of people that literally will pull from one place to the other and say, well, ETH's going to move, I'm going to take it. And then boom, 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 and go with it.
Okay. Well, I don't make a habit out of aping, right? However, you also have to remember that ETH was below 3,000. ETH was below 3,000 for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
No one was interested. And right now, if you look at this, if you look at a monthly chart in ETH, let me just adjust this so I can show you like where we are in the world. Like this is like the most compelling thing. ETH in 2022, like this was April of 2022, the original sell in May and go away signal. Where was ETH back then? 3,500. So all we've done is unwound the calamitous crash. That's it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's all we've done. So it's like, are you aping at 3,500? No.
Right.
No, it's like, oh, it's like people thought, were you aping in Bitcoin at 48 when the ETF came out? Everyone's like, sell the fact. Is like, I'm aping. And went to 68. You know what I'm saying?
And just took the hell off. Yeah.
So, you know, that's my attitude on aping into ETH. And I think that's what's happening at the hedge fund level. Everyone's underinvested. Everybody was like, ETH is dead. You know, Arthur Hayes was like, buy ETH and chill for 10K. Everyone laughed at him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a big part of my, you know, my game plan, I have 2030, you know, old fashioned on the beach that I've got on my refrigerator that I talk about all the time. Part of that is my ETH holdings, because I hold more ETH substantially than I do anything else. And I know people, I saw somebody in the chat earlier say, I've held ETH for so many years, but ETH is broken and this, that, and the third. The reality is it's not broken at all. I think that the way that people view ETH and maybe the way that it will be used moving forward is going to change. And so where it feels broken, and let's give it an example here, where it feels broken is when you want to spend $300 on a meme coin. That's where it feels broken, because you spend $300, you want to buy $300 worth of whatever meme coin it is on Ethereum, and then the market's pumping and you're like, hold on a second, why am I spending, why is it $420? Oh, well, you had a $120 gas fee. That's where it feels broken. However, as we move into real world assets, as we move into people putting these assets on the blockchain, now all of a sudden, is anybody going to bitch about a $120 fee when a home deed goes on to the Ethereum blockchain? Hell no. They're not even going to know that it was there. When big institutional money, like we're talking about right now with the ETF, is coming in and they're moving these large numbers around, are they bitching about a $120 gas fee that they had to do for X, Y, and Z? Hell no, they're not. It only feels broken on a small fundamental level. And on those levels, the great thing has been other networks have kind of stepped in to fill the gap, right? Like Polygon has stepped in. And if you just want to do some small little transactions, okay, figure out how the heck to move around over on Polygon. And then you can come back over if you need, you know what I'm saying? Like there are gap fillers there. ETH just isn't going to be the same thing as it, you know, always was. I just think that it's going to evolve and change. And I think this move with the institutions is going to be part of that as well, as we continue to press further and farther into the space. So,
yeah, I mean, everybody normally gives up on something right before everything that it's ever been about becomes fulfilled, right? Like
there's
2017, everybody is like, well, ETH is vaporware. There's no killer app. Let's buy it anyway. Now there's an entire alternative banking system in DeFi waiting on Ethereum. Larry going on chain. Everyone's like, yeah, it's dead.
Yeah.
Institutions aren't going to care about gas if they need another banking system.
No, absolutely not. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, there's a guy at my church that always says, don't stop pressing right before the miracle. Right. Like, and effectively you continue to work so hard for whatever it is, man, I get it. At some point, let's just use XRP as an example. There's people that are bailing on XRP and saying to heck with it. Right. I haven't done that. I've just let it sit because I hold a bunch of it and my cost basis is so damn low anyway. It doesn't even matter. I've thought about it. Right. But I just can't bring myself to do it. And I think that ETH, because it is still the big dog, as it were with DeFi, I think you'd be absolutely crazy to step aside with, you know, ETH. And then I was talking about gap fillers, right? So here's one of them. Is the TON blockchain the future of decentralization? New report reveals surprising trends. So you guys hear me talk about TON a lot. This is something that has just been near and dear to my heart, really because of the Telegram community. And if you guys want to jump into my DGen group, I'd be happy to have you. My link is down below the stream. But it says the TON blockchain has been a topic of interest for many in the cryptocurrency community, particularly regarding its decentralization. A recent analysis by a crypto quant analyst highlights significant trends in this area. Decentralization, you guys know what it is, core value in the blockchain technology, promoting security, fairness, and resilience against attacks and manipulation. For the TON blockchain, recent data suggests improvements in how its wealth and resources are distributed among participants. This trend towards greater decentralization is measured using the, do you say that Genie? Do you know how to say that?
I did. I think I'll go with your interpretation.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, though. Coefficient, a statistical measure used across various sectors to gauge inequality. In the context of the TON blockchain, a decreasing Gini coefficient indicates that TON tokens are being held by a broader base of addresses in more equitable manner. This shift suggests a movement away from the concentration of wealth and power, which is pivotal for the robustness in democratic nature in the blockchain. So there's a little tweet here, just talks about that decline in the coefficient, right? So basically what I don't want to get into that right here. The implications of a more decentralized TON blockchain are manifold. As wealth becomes more evenly spread, the network inherently becomes less susceptible to market manipulation or the adverse effects of centralized control. This enhances the security of the network, as decentralized systems are harder to compromise. Additionally, a more equitable distribution supports a diverse and vibrant community, essentially for the long-term adoption and success of any blockchain technology. I think that this really comes down to the fact that Telegram has become so freaking huge in the crypto space, and TON came from originally, obviously they've taken their hands supposedly out of it. I mean, I still think they're heavily involved, but out of, what was TON coin. And people are looking at this and saying, man, this is a big part of a community that I'm heavily involved in, and I want to support that. And I think it literally comes down to that. And then because so many of the caller groups and, like my little DGen group and whatever, because so many people are analyzing and watching markets and talking about things that are happening, kind of those backroom chats happen in Telegram. I think that it's easy to see why this would do so well. And I think that's why out of nowhere, effectively, TON has just went and risen right up the freaking charts. Because if you ask somebody, I don't know, maybe a year ago about TON coin, they'd be like, I don't even, what's TON? They, for the most part, people are not even going to know what is it, why would I use it, you know what I mean, where do I get it? And even still now, it's number 8, and people can't even get it on the centralized exchanges. And I think I've talked about that. That's going to be freaking huge when it goes mainstream and people can just grab it like they're able to grab other assets. Man, I'll be very interested to see where this goes. So shout out to all you TON coin users, to all my cronies. I think this is going to do really, really well. All right, let's chat, Bill, about this ETH ETF and what the implications are, right? Okay. First of all, fam, if you haven't already, smash the like. Make sure to follow Bill Noble. Got his link down below the stream. Do that. Jump into his Telegram, jump into his, I can never remember the name of the
Patreon.
I can never remember the name of that.
It's on my
Jump
Twitter.
into his Patreon. It is on his X page as well. All right, here's what I want to know. Election politics or crypto evolution? Speculation abounds as the SEC hints at approving Ethereum ETFs. So before I read any of this, answer that first question for me, Bill. Elections politics or crypto evolution?
Okay, well, it would be silly to say crypto evolution first. It's definitely about politics, right?
Okay.
It became an issue. I don't know if it's a huge issue, but in a tight 3-way race, the crypto vote matters. Now, of course, the number 1 crypto voter would be Larry Fink, right? And BlackRock and the 8 other entities that are trying to compete with him on these ETFs. So if Larry beat everybody to the punch on Bitcoin, the other 8 guys are going to be like, hey, we got to get involved in something. We got to beat him to the punch on Ethereum. So they everyone just calls their congressman and be like, yeah, can we get some cooperation here, please? Mm-hmm. So there's a personal, Nancy Pelosi voted for that bill about the banking system, about banks holding Bitcoin, and Bowden said he wouldn't veto it. So clearly, if those characters are on board, there's a political angle. They got told. They got told,
hey, listen, get in line. Effectively, you know what I'm saying? The big money is telling them, get in line. This is happening, whether you like it or not. And they had to have, because it's such a stark contrast to what we were seeing before, pushing so hard against what's been happening in the crypto space. And now we see this just strange shift. And it just happens to be a few months before an election. Nothing to see over here, folks. But hey, it'll be good for us. You know what I'm saying? I think it will be a very good thing for the crypto space. Also, comes with its problems, and I've talked about that before. So let's talk about this. So ETH has been on a bullish run, obviously, trading around 37.60 as of yesterday, marking a 28% increase over the last week. But let's see. The surge, driven by speculation of the U.S. SEC may approve the first ETF this week, the Ethereum ETF. In a surprising turn of events on May 20th, the SEC requested NASDAQ, CBOE, and the New York Stock Exchange to refine their applications for listing spot Ether ETFs. The exchanges were instructed to submit or revised their revised applications by the end of Tuesday. Bloomberg analyst Eric Balkunas noted that multiple ETF issuers, including Fidelity, Van Eck, and ARC21 shares, promptly submitted their amended filings. It says it's happening. We have at least 5 of the potential ETF issuers that have submitted their amended 19B4s in the last 25 minutes. And it did happen quickly, Bill. So you've been on the other side of this. You've been in the traditional finance world. It seems like a lot of stuff happens really slow. So when they reach out, and they've got to have information we don't have, for them to be like, hey, amend this, change it, fix it, and then boom. And it's like literally comes in and happens fast. Am I wrong for thinking that?
Yeah, this is gradually, then suddenly, right? In other words, banks may want, stocks and bonds are not moving. 3 days ago was the lowest volume in the S&P 500 ETF in quite some time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there is nothing happening in legacy. So if they want to get something going, they call their congressman. They probably wanted it, and they saw an opportunity with the political issue to get it, because they need to make money. I mean, this comes down to a very simple thing. First, the banks didn't want crypto. Now they do, because they're watching Larry eat everyone's lunch. I mean, everyone's like,
you're so right.
Larry wants everything on chain, because people don't realize if Larry can just access everything on chain, he doesn't need big broker dealers. He doesn't need Wall Street. He'll just like, okay.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. He's talking about Larry Fink, for those of you that are wondering. He's talking about Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock. Go ahead.
Right. They can just generate their own market for crypto. It's like, you don't need to call, Charles Schwab to get on Uniswap. You do it yourself. So
I had not even thought about the value that could come in there. I mean, obviously we talk about blockchain value and all the great things that it can do. I had not even thought about that. Now, when that happens, do you think that BlackRock is going to be utilizing their own private blockchain? Because I don't think they're going to want everybody to be able to see all the moves that they're making. Or am I wrong in assuming that, because most people aren't blockchain sleuth enough to be able to figure out what the hell's going on anyway?
Okay, well, I'm sure there will be private blockchains. Here's the thing about the public blockchains. They can get involved quickly with size if they have to. Right. And that's what it's really all about. It's like, it's like their version of question everything, trust nothing, get prepped.
Yeah.
They're prepping, because the reason that they're not going to care about doing it publicly is that right now there's no liquidity in anything. Housing, nothing. Real estate, commercial,
good point.
Junk bonds, nothing. So they're just like, you know what? Public, private, we want liquidity. I mean, I know that there were
for straws.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're already on Mantra, Ohm, tokenizing treasury bills and then borrowing stables against it. This is only the beginning. They want to get on chain because they need liquidity. There is no liquidity in legacy. No.
This is why I love bringing you on the show, Bill. You see the other side of it. I love that you were in the traditional side of finance for so long that you see it, because there's things that you bring up all the time that I'm like, wow, you know what? I had not even realized that's what was happening. So thank you for that. It says it's important to note that the first round of spot Ether ETF deadlines is approaching. Van Eck's application is due on May 23rd, which is today, and ARK Invest 21 shares on May 24th. All right. So the approval of these ETFs will be a huge win for the crypto industry, coming as a surprise to many who were expecting a rejection. Despite the progress, uncertainty remains. The SEC, led by crypto skeptic Gary Gensler, has historically been cautious about approving spot crypto ETFs due to his concerns about market manipulation. However, the recent court victory by Grayscale Investments would force the SEC to approve the spot Bitcoin ETFs, might influence the decision on the Ether ETFs. So, where is it? Right. So let's look at the odds. The speculation suggests that the SEC's change of heart could be politically motivated, possibly influenced by the upcoming elections. What do you know? Former President Donald Trump, who has recently expressed pro-crypto sentiments, criticized President Joe Biden's understanding of crypto and hinted that crypto enthusiasts should support him. I think this is, he holds a bunch of ETH, right? he was right talking negative about crypto, but let's be in the past, right? But let's be fair. I don't care who it is, especially in politics, but let's just not even use a politician as an example. People mold and change their views on things, right? As an example, I absolutely was outspoken against meme coins back in 2020, right? 2021, 2022. I was just like, nah, not good. And what I ultimately recognized was like, wow, depending on how I view this and the more education and knowledge that I brought in of what it could potentially bring to the space versus the risks involved, that changed. And so do I think that it actually has changed for Donald Trump? Maybe so. He's a money man. He's a businessman. He's seen a bunch of money come in on the blockchain. I think he sees the potential with business. I think he sees the things that Bill's talking about with Larry Fink and the big money that's saying, hey, jump on board with this. And I also think that it's a great talking point at the same time. Don't you think it's kind of like the mesh of those two, Bill? It's like, hey, this is where we're headed, and it's a good talking point, and it's a way I can talk trash about my opponent. It's a win-win.
Yeah, I mean, Trump wasn't into crypto until he needed to make money.
Yeah.
I mean, people got to remember that, Trump's crypto cred comes from, he sold ETH NFTs successfully in a bear market.
Freaking bear market. Killed it too.
In a bear market. So, perhaps the knock on Trump maybe is that he had to sell some of that ETH. So he didn't exactly hodl crypto,
right.
but he's using it to make money, which is a good example for the general public. His competitor Kennedy is going to be speaking at Consensus in a week. I'm definitely going to that.
Yeah, I'll be there with you.
Right. So, he's talking about about a partial backing of treasuries with Bitcoin. Oh, they're going to compete on this because they've got to get that vote. I mean, the crypto vote probably is people between the ages of 30 and 50 with six-figure income.
With good income. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, that again, it's going to be a three-way race, and it matters, right? Because, they say Bowden has a certain percentage of the vote. I'm not convinced on that, right? These guys are going to argue crypto just to kind of like push Bowden out, right? Because he doesn't have any cred on the issue. I mean, to enhance the point about the administration's cred, I just saw breaking news that Gensler just said, stay tuned on the ETH ETF application. Just hit now at Watcher Guru.
He just like announced that, like, stay tuned.
Yes, the SEC Gensler, according to Watcher Guru, SEC Gensler says stay tuned when asked about spot Ethereum ETF decisions. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be annoying about it right up until he's got to sign. Until
he has to.
That he's a dummy.
So they changed this from like 25%. You know how they put the probabilities on it, right? And they changed it from like 25% all the way up to 75%. So let's talk about the repercussions of, let's say we get the news today. So ETH's at, let's take a peek here real quick. ETH is at, I'll pull it on my screen. ETH is at 3807 right now. That's on a daily. Obviously, if we zoom in here, like to a 15-minute chart, let me look at this a little bit. If we zoom in, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, so we're a little bit over 3,800. Obviously, we had the big move, big move here. Whoop. What do we think? What do you think? Let's say they come out today and Gary Gensler says, for now, denied or delayed. Denied or delayed. Do we see an actual dump from that? Or is it going to be just like correction or 3580 as opposed to 3608? What are your thoughts? And again, guys, we're totally speculating here. None of this is, hey, run out and do something with your Ethereum bags. We're not here giving financial advice. We're talking to guys on the internet about what we can see with these markets as to what's happening. Just a reminder. What do you think would happen?
Okay, well, denied would be bad. Right. Denied is Gensler rogue. So, that probably creates a dump.
Okay.
Delayed just means ETH travels in this sideways box. When ETH goes, because I used to chart it by hand. When ETH trades in a rectangular range, it's a sign that it's going to go up. And the best time for it to go up, because we do this every year, is on big U.S. holidays. Like You eat your dinner, you go to your barbecue, you turn on a baseball game, you look at your phone, it's 15% in either direction. They did a monster dump on Mother's Day. In this case, you know, if I was the crypto world, I'd be out in front of the investment banks when they're all at the shore and just
On Memorial Day?
Yeah, moon it on Memorial Day. Right. Just, you know, Gensler will postpone it. We won't know what's going on. Then all of a sudden over the weekend, they'll be like, Gensler's approving it. They'll moon it on Memorial Day, you know, gradually, then suddenly. And, you know, bull markets, even if you know it's coming, you know, it's still hard to get on the move and stay on the move. You know, this ETH thing is really the people who are benefiting are hodlers, because when it gaps up 20%, the reason it gaps up 20% is that there was no seller. The people who needed to buy ETH, the people who needed to ape in, yeah, they didn't get to ape in until 3,800.
Yep. So the long-term holders are just a massive benefactor in that, because depending on what happens on the way back down, there's either no selling or no buying at a certain price point there because of that. So yeah, I'm with it. I think that I don't think it gets denied. I won't be surprised to see a delay, because it seems like they always have a reason to delay. My only thought process a little bit different than that is it feels like this came about so quick, and I was talking about this earlier, their response was so hectic that I almost feel like there's information that they have that was almost, maybe the phone call was more like, hey, here's what you need to do, X, Y, and Z. If you can get this to me by this point, just do it. Just get it to me by this point, right? And kind of the implication that it's going to happen. So I think that's good. But I also, at the same time, man, think about how they drug out the spot ETF for Bitcoin. I mean, for how long? Every single time they had the opportunity to approve it. No, we're pushing it. So it also wouldn't surprise me to see them push back. But like you said, if Uncle Larry Fink's in charge, it's gonna be pressing forward. All right, so let's look at the other side. So let's say today or tomorrow, whatever, the ETF gets approved. Is that priced in right now, or are we going to take off?
Yeah, nothing is priced in. I mean, you may get an afternoon of sell the fact, or, oh God, I have to take profits because, you know, ETH is at such unprecedented heights because it's all the way back to where it was in 2022.
Right.
Everyone's like, oh, I need to take profits. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Buy ETH and chill. Yeah. So if they approve this, right, and no one owns ETH really at the institutional level, and everyone and retail is down on it, who's a seller? There's no seller, right? So it's just they got to bid it up until they can reach a new equilibrium.
And it would get so hot. Here's the other part of it. It would get so hot so quick that I believe, if I'm thinking this through, I believe it would be so hot so quick, the gas fees would be outrageous, which also it encourages the lack of selling on the open market with some of the meme coin plays that happen as well, right? So I don't know. It could encourage things.
Right. Well, that's why they went after Pepe. That's why they went after anything on centralized exchanges. I mean, this is a really good point. It's like, you know, last call for ETH meme coins. If you don't want to pay
hundreds of dollars on a gas fee,
right? Hundreds of, like, you know, if you just look at what, like, a chart of ETH, you know, like this chart of ETH from, like, say, the last cycle, right? I mean, ETH is capable of doing this. Okay, that's from 1,500 to 4,000 in 57 days.
Good God.
Okay, so ETH can 3x if it wants to. You know, so like you'd say to somebody, everyone's like, well, you know, ETH 4,700. Okay, ETH 5,000. Hey, that's really aggressive. Hey, how about we do 7,000 between what's a couple thousand between friends and ETH?
Between friends.
After what I just showed you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't disagree. I think that we have a long way to go. I think that sometimes people get so caught and fixated on the numbers in crypto that sometimes that's their focus, when I think what's happening here that we need to focus on is the fact that, and we've talked about this before, utilitarian side of things. Like, businesses, institutions, they are using the blockchain space. And so if they need to use it, they need to hold it. And if there's a bunch of money in other markets that aren't able to access it, that now can access something, man, yeah, I think we're too fixated on just the physical number as opposed to what is this doing to change things. That's why I have the HODL mentality. For me, I have the HODL mentality because I know what it's done for me since 2017. And I know what I believe it's going to do for me between now and 2030. And I think that obviously some of these regulations coming into play, hopefully the CFTC taking over, Gary Gensler stepping down or getting hit by a bus, I don't care either, would be super bullish. That's terrible. Hey, YouTube, don't get me in trouble for that one. It was a joke. It was a joke. So yeah. All right. So let me just talk real quick. Let's talk meme coins real quick, Bill. I mentioned earlier one that I don't hold, unfortunately, the Zach Morris meme coin. I've been touching on Coochie. That sounds terrible. I might want to rephrase that, but Coochie on Solana has been doing well. Volume is up there. Love to see that. It's at 3.47 million right now. Had a little bit of had a pretty big pullback yesterday. That is common in the meme coin space, ladies and gentlemen. Had a nice little pullback here to here. Let's see. How big of a retracement was that? Let me see here. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. I'm not on the wrong screen, but my mouse is on the wrong screen. So yesterday, boom. Yeah, 42% pullback there, right? So, not loving seeing that, but that's part of the game. Let's check in over on Donald. Actually have a little bit of I guess would you call this a rising wedge, Bill? I call my triangles incorrectly sometimes. Would you call this a rising wedge, or what would you call this?
No, it's not a rising wedge. I would call that like an old-fashioned triangle.
Just old school. Okay. So Donald is at 1.14 million. Listen, if you zoom out here and you look at this chart, right, there's been definitely some highs. There's definitely been some lows. But if you look at, let me paint this picture for you real quick. Look at all that happens right in here. And that is within, that's basically 800 to 1.1 million. There is a ton going on there, right? So we are winding up, I believe, to make a huge move. And I want to tell you guys, we're about to be donating to, because I'm part of this team, we're about to be donating to Donald Trump's campaign. That's going to be happening, and to veterans. A lot of you know I was in the Marine Corps. I think that we too often get too focused on just how much money can I make on something, just strictly off it being a cool token or a great narrative or whatever. Let's try to do something good for somebody or a purpose or whatever. So I'm excited about that. Bill, you have, and I know we're getting close on time, but I did want to ask you real quickly. You had two tokens that I wanted to ask you about that I didn't get to because we were chatting, or I was chatting too much or something. Can you hit me with those real quick? Talk to me about what they are.
Certainly. I'm good on time, but
okay,
let's. Okay, so the first one I wanted to look at was Maple.
Maple, and this is maple syrup.
This is just straight up ETH DeFi, right? They're going to be at consensus, right?
Okay.
It's breaking out above moving averages, and I just think that whatever starts to get hot in ETH DeFi is going to stay hot. Like Pendle took off, right? So Maple is one play, and then the other one, which I think is fascinating, is I don't have a full understanding of the tech, but I understand this is like some sort of aggregator or something like Polkadot for connecting ETH layer 2s. It's called Omni.
Okay.
It's been, they kind of destroyed it along with everything else. When ETH took off, I saw Arbitrum, Optimism took off. There's the base network where you're going to be able to trade on ETH for a fraction of the cost.
Yep.
So anything that aggregates all these ETH layer 2s, like I'm super interested in that, because like I said, this ETH trade, just like the ETH trade in 2020 and 2021, right? Where did it go? It went from DeFi, right? And then it went to NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
And, there were multiple manias in there.
Yeah.
Like, we're like 2 days into a rally and everyone's like, oh, it's over.
Yeah. I don't know if it's bear market trauma still that's happening, or if it's just good old fashioned disbelief, or maybe it's a dose of what I have, where like, I don't want to get myself too amped up about an idea of, some price action. I also think that people are guilty of, and I'm guilty of this sometimes too, paying attention to their overall portfolio and have a mindset of really paying attention probably a little bit too closely on a daily basis to what that looks like. And I want to give everybody just a little, scratch on the back here. Listen, if you made it through this last bear market and you were able to continue to stack or even just hold, congratulations, you're here. Let's ride this ride together. I'm looking forward to seeing what is going to happen. I did say on a video this morning, and I believe this, I think they approve this ETF, have that combined with what's happening with Bitcoin, and they start calling crypto digital commodities. I think throw all your price predictions out the window. I think they're too low. Maybe Bitcoin might be the outlier there, but I think the alts, if that were to happen, and then we'll throw in one more. XRP is like officially, like out of the woods there. I think some of this price action could get absolutely nutty, but I want to put a little warning in there. Please take profits, people. Bill, I actually first heard about Bill when he worked somewhere that we will not speak of years ago, and told me to sell in May and walk away. And I remember I listened to it because I liked what he had to say. I listened to it, but I only listened to it a real little bit. I was like, okay, I'll take a little action off the table. And I remember telling Bill the first time I met him, I don't know if you remember this, Bill, but we met at a conference. I remember telling you like, hey, thank you very much. You literally saved me / made me a nice chunk of money, albeit I didn't listen as good as, I probably could have. All I want to say is have that game plan together, please. I talk about it a lot. I'm like a broken record, but whatever that game plan looks like for you, if it's set it and forget it, well, then maybe you don't look at the charts every single day. You got to be on Crypto Wars every day. That's a rule, right? If you're here, you got to be with Crypto Noble on a daily or try 3 times a week or whatever on his Patreon every day. That's a rule. If you're here, that's the rule. But other than that, maybe you don't pay that close of attention to what your portfolio is. If you're actively trading, obviously, what's your trading strategy look like? Are you a scalper? What are you swing trader? Like, what are you actively doing? I think too often people ride these by the seat of their pants. And then when it is time to make a decision, it happens too fast. And if you haven't been around for a bull run / bear market, I'm going to tell you, I told my sister this. Listen, you need to have targets set up, because if you don't, when it does happen, the exchanges will damn shut down on you. You won't be able to do what you need to do, or it's moving so fast that you're in panic mode and you can't get to all of your wallets, et cetera, et cetera. But if you have a solid game plan to where you are actively taking some profits along the way that makes sense for your financial, well-being long-term, that's where I think you win. Bill, talk to me about what you're doing for everybody over on, before we X out of here. Talk to me about what you're doing over on your Patreon right now.
Certainly. I can share the screen if I can.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what Patreon looks like. I have a shop where you can get a report on political tokens, right? So if you're allergic to like the monthly fees, we've got gaming and DeFi in here. All right. And then, what Patreon really is, apes strong together for DeFi, right? So the DeFi coins that I like, Maple and all the other ones, are in here. And then members can get one-on-one consults.
Oh, nice.
So basically I'm setting up like a one-stop shop. The Patreon takes on like a coaching, it's like, hey, here's everything we just talked about. Let's do it in 20 minutes. Yeah. Talk about what you should do next. So I appreciate the ability to talk about it. So effectively somebody could send you a message. Hey, here's kind of my overarching theme. This is my goal of what I want to do. You then have, some information on the front end, and you're able to get together with them and put together, or help them put together a game plan for whatever that process looks like for that person. Yes. So we have a chat, like a Telegram, that's inside Patreon.
Yeah.
But they've also got the ability for a fee to book a one-on-one consult. And, I can't do investment advice, but, if you've got 30 coins from the last cycle, I can help you sort that.
Yeah, sort that what is probably a mess, and you can probably do a better job than the average. Not probably, I know you can do a better job than the average person in terms of maximizing that. So, all right, crypto fam. Well, we love you. We appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Somebody asked what time the news on the ETF is due. Please, just because you said please, I'll give you the answer. no idea. And Bill, I'm not wrong, right? They haven't given any sort of a time. It's like stand by, like you said, right? We're just waiting. Is that right?
Right. We're on Gensler time. Gensler's going to hold on to it as long as he can, just to irritate everybody.
Yep.
Because that's really all the power he's got left. So
keep everybody on their toes.
Yeah. And markets transfer money from people who are impatient to our people who are patient. So
yeah, just
wait. Just wait for Gensler to sign. And then, it's what Arthur Hayes said, just chill.
Yeah. All right, Crypto fam, I love you. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Happy Thursday. You guys could have been anywhere, but you're hanging out over here on Crypto Wars with myself and Mr. Noble. Make sure you follow us on all socials. Make sure you hit the bell notification. Do all of the things. Bill, I hope you have a wonderful day. Crypto fam, question everything. Trust nothing except for your boy CryptoKeeper and Bill Noble. And until next time, hodl like it's hot. We'll see you soon.